Establishing rewards and pay plans, human resource management. Now, let's move on to the subtopics of establishing rewards and pay plans. First, we will talk about compensation administration. Second, the pay structure. Third, special cases of compensation. Fourth, executive compensation programs. And fifth, international compensation. Compensation administration. Before we proceed to compensation administration, let us first search the word compensation. Compensation is payment or remuneration for work or services offered or for harm suffered. In talking about compensation, we also have to talk about what keeps the employees going, what keeps them working. There are 4 work motivators including promotions, desirable work assignments, peer recognition, and work freedom. But the focus in this chapter is pay, since it is the reward or payoff of our effort that affects our decision whether to do the work, and it determines the level of our motivation. As we talk about compensation administration, of course, we have to consider rewarding employees. And the main is total reward, since it is the comprehensive view of compensation that includes pay, training, health and awareness management, benefits, paid time off with non-monetary rewards such as work-life balance, challenging and fulfilling work assignments, supportive work culture, autonomy, and opportunities for advancement. Intrinsic includes participation in decisions, autonomy, responsibility, meaningful work, and personal growth. Under extrinsic, there are financial and non-financial. Under non-financial, there are recognition, preferred work assignments, volunteer opportunities, and casual dress. While on financial, it includes performance-based and membership-based. Performance-based includes piecework, commission, incentive plans, and bonuses, while membership-based includes cost of living increases, seniority raises, and profit sharing. Along with rewards review, there are types of reward plans. This includes intrinsic versus extrinsic. Intrinsic rewards, these are the satisfaction derived from the job itself, such as pride in one's work, feeling of accomplishment, and being part of the team. While extrinsic rewards includes the benefits which are provided by the employer. Usually, these are money, promotion, and benefits. Under extrinsic rewards, there is financial rewards. It is the monetary compensation for employees from the organization. While non-financial rewards, these are not directly the increase in employees' financial position, but yes, it makes life on the job more pleasant. Under financial reward, there is this called performance-based versus membership-based rewards. Performance-based rewards are designed to provide an incentive for high productivity using the following: commission, piecework, incentive system, group bonuses, merit pay, and other pay for performance. While membership-based rewards, on the other hand, include cost of living increase, benefits, and salary increase related to labor market conditions, seniority, or time in rank. Meanwhile, there are government regulation of compensation. But before we proceed, let us first identify what is compensation administration. It is a segment of management or human resources management focusing on planning, organizing, and controlling the direct and indirect payments employees receive for the work they perform. This is also heavily regulated by government rules and regulation. While federal legislation sets minimum wages and benefits that employers must meet and determines what employees and employers are affected, and states are free to provide additional regulations and protections, resulting in an abundance of laws and regulations that define fair and legal compensation. That being said, an effective fair compensation program must attract, motivates, retains competent employees. Fair Labor Standard Act or FLSA. It was passed in 1938. This act established laws outlining minimum wage, overtime pay, child labor, restrictions, and maximum hour requirements for most U.S. workers. The Act identifies 2 primary categories of employees. First, exempt employees. This includes professional, managerial, and outside sales positions if they earn more than $45 per week. while non-exempt employees are employees covered by the Fair Labor Standards Act, including overtime and minimum wage provision. Walsh-Healy Act. It requires employers with government contracts over $100,000 to pay prevailing wage rates in the geographic area. Under this act, government contractors must also pay time and a half for all work in excess of 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week. Civil Rights Act protects employees from discrimination. Organizations cannot discriminate in pay on the basis of race, color, creed, age, or sex. Equal Pay Act of 1963 says the same. It mandates that organizations compensate men and women doing the same job in the organization with the same rate of pay. Meaning the Civil Rights Act and Equal Pay Act suggests that employers must compensate men and women equally for equal work. And this only shows that both of the acts are non-discriminatory. Of course, there are external factors that affect compensation. First is geographic differences, in the sense that it affects local supply and demand. Next is labor supplies, in a manner that low supply is equals to higher wages and vice versa. Next is competition. Of course, human resource can match, lead, or lag. And the next is cost of living, which is determined by the CPI. And lastly is collective bargaining, which talks about unions. Second subtopic that we will discuss is the pay structure. Under pay structure is job evaluation. It helps set pay structure. It is the foundation of compensation administration. It systematically determines the value of each job in relation to all jobs within the organization. Lastly, it seeks to rank all the jobs in the organization and place them in a hierarchy that will reflect the relative worth of each. And the other pay structure factors are labor market conditions, collective bargaining, and individual skill differences. Job evaluation has 3 methods. These are ordering method or ranking method, classification method, and point method. First is the process of ordering method. A committee places jobs in a simple rank order from highest. Highest means the worth highest pay to lowest. Next is classification method. Jobs placed in grades to compare their descriptions to the benchmark jobs. Look for a common denominator such as skills, knowledge, and responsibility. While point method, these are jobs that are rated and allocated points on several criteria. Jobs with similar point totals are placed in similar pay grades that offers the greatest stability. On the other hand, establishing the pay structure could only be done once the job evaluation is complete. The data generated become the basis of the organization's pay structure. There are 3 also. First is compensation surveys. So these are used to gather factual data on pay rates for other organizations. Information is often collected on associated employee benefits as well. Next is wage curves. This is drawn by plotting job evaluation data such as job points or grades against pay rates, actual or from survey data. It indicates whether pay structure is logical. Next is wage structure. It designates pay ranges for jobs of similar value, which results in a logical hierarchy of wages in overlapping range. Types of compensation or special cases of compensation. There are 2 basic building blocks of compensation. First is base pay or piecework. It is a pay determined by the number of units produced. It is also an alternative to hourly wages for base pay. It is commonly used in construction and manufacturing. On the other hand, premium pay. It is an additional pay to reward workers for inconvenient or undesirable work. For instance, is an on-call pay for employees who may need to report to work on short notice, requiring them to be available and near the work site if needed. Hazard pay is provided to workers who encounter unsafe working conditions that exposes them to the risk of harm. Additional pay may also be provided to workers with special skills such as being bilingual. There are also 6 variable pay for individuals. First is individual incentive plan, motivation systems based on individual work or performance. Next is commissions. These are a type of individual incentive common for sales workers. Next is bonuses. These are extra pay awarded for performance. Next is merit pay. It is an increase in pay usually determined annually. And next is competency-based compensation, which is an organizational pay system that rewards skills, knowledge, and behaviors. Lastly is broad banding paying. It is paying employees at preset levels based on their level of competency. There is also competency-based pay. There are 4: administrative, communication, supervisory, and cognitive. Under administrative, these are time management and prioritizing, setting goals and standards, planning and scheduling work. While in communication, these are listening and organizing, giving clear information, obtaining unbiased information. And on supervisory, these are training, coaching, and delegating, evaluating people and performance, disciplining and counseling, positive relationship building. And lastly, on cognitive, these are identifying and solving problems, making decisions, and weighing risks. And lastly, thinking clearly and analytically. Still under special cases of compensation are the variable pay for groups. First is individual incentives. So these are merit pay plans, piece work plans, time savings, bonuses, and commissions. This work best where clear objectives are set and tasks are independent. Next is group incentives. It is an incentives that can be offered to groups rather than individuals when employees' tasks are interdependent and require cooperation. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that it focuses the group on specific performance targets, and one of the disadvantages is that it can be costly to install and administer. Next is organization-wide incentives. So it is direct employee efforts towards organizational goals such as cost reduction. And under organization-wide incentives are Scamlon Plan, which is a supervisor and employee committees that suggest labor-saving improvements. Next is ImproShare. So it is a formula that is used to determine bonuses based on labor cost savings.
Executive compensation. What is executive compensation? Executive compensation refers to the financial payments and non-monetary benefits provided to higher-level management in exchange for their work on behalf of an organization. It differs substantially from typical pay packages for either hourly workers or salaried management and professionals in that executive pay is heavily biased toward rewards for actual results. Hence, if a company underperforms, the executives typically receive a smaller fraction of their potential pay. Conversely, if a company meets its annual objective and the stock price responds long-term, the executive stands to receive a much larger payout. In addition, executive compensation has become a hot topic in compensation management. There are pay packages consist of base salary, bonuses, long-term incentives, benefits, and perquisites. Salaries of top managers. Executive compensation is set at the discretion of the board of directors of the organization with the goal of attracting the best talent. Competition for executive talent raises the price of an executive. High salaries can be motivator for executives and lower-level managers. In fact, the board is elected by the stockholders of publicly traded corporations to represent their interests. In practice, the directors often develop close relationships with CEOs, causing stockholders to question whether directors favor the CEO while negotiating compensation. Shareholders occasionally take action to challenge top executive compensation packages viewed as excessive. Executive compensation packages. Incentive pay for largely individual is designed so that they will benefit personally from the organization's success. In fact, incentive pay is a financial reward for performance rather than pay for the number of hours worked. The idea is the prospect of financial compensation will motivate the employee to hit certain performance figures or financial targets. It could also involve giving employees the option to buy shares in a company. Short-term incentives focus on bonuses tied to a specific amount of profit or sales paid in cash or stock. It also often referred to as annual incentives, as intended to compensate executives for achieving the company's short-term business strategy based on achievement of goals by the Board Compensation Committee. Long-term incentives usually take the form of stock option that reward the executive for long-term increase in the value of the company and its stock. The purpose of the long-term incentive is to reward executives for achievement of the company's strategic objectives that will maximize shareholder values. Stock options, your right to purchase a number of shares of company stock at a specific price for a period of months or years. Executive perquisites. Executives are frequently offered a variety of benefits or perquisites not offered to other employees. The logic of offering these perquisites or perks from the organization's perspective is to attract and keep good managers and motivate them to work hard in the organization's interest. Some popular perks may include the payment of life insurance premiums, ticket to sporting and cultural events, liberal expenses accounts, club memberships, company automobiles, supplemental disability insurance, supplemental retirement accounts, post-retirement consulting contracts, and personal financial, tax, and legal counseling. Some also may be given mortgage assistance. A benefit for top executives is the golden parachute. It was originally designed by the top executives as a means of protecting themselves if a merger or hostile takeover occurred. In common usage, the term golden parachute refers to large severance payments made when a change of control benefits in job termination. The idea was to provide an incentive for the executive to stay with the company and fight the hostile takeover rather than leave the organization. In recent years, they have become a common part of executive contracts, providing several years' salary and allowing sales of stock options earlier than normally allowed in event the executive leaves his position for any reason, including being fired for poor performance. International compensation. What is international compensation? Designing and implementing an equitable international compensation program for a global organization requires attention to a wide variety of complicated variables. International compensation is an internal rate of return, monetary or non-monetary rewards package including base salary, benefits, perquisites, and long-term and short-term incentives that valued employees in accordance with their relative contribution to performance toward achieving and desired goal of an organization. The first step in designing an international compensation package is to determine if one policy will apply to all employees or if PCN, Parent Country National, HCN, Host Country National, TCN, Third Country National, and will be treated differently. The most common approach to establishing compensation for expatriate employees or employees with a position outside the home country is the balance sheet approach. It is a system designed to equalize the purchasing power of employees at comparable position levels living abroad and in the home country, and to provide incentives to offset qualitative differences between assignments location. The international compensation packages generally utilize the balance sheet approach using these four factors: base pay, differentials, incentives, and assistance program. Base pay is similar to the pay of employees in comparable jobs in the home country, but a number of questions should be asked when determining a fair salary. Therefore, taxation is a major factor in calculating equitable base pay rates. The U.S. State Department has negotiated agreements with every country to determine where income will be taxed, but the protection of income from foreign tax rates create new administrative requirements for the organization. Almost all multinational corporations have some tax protection plans so that the expatriate pays no more taxes than if she were in home country. Differentials, a compensation given to offset the higher cost of overseas goods, services, and housing. The State Department, which has employees in almost every country in the world, publishes a regularly updated comparison of global cost of living used by most multinational corporations for providing differentials to maintain the standards of living the expatriate would enjoy if he or she were home. Not all employees are willing to leave family, friends, and the comfort of home support system for a long period of time, requiring employees to offer incentives. An incentive is money given to employees who work extra hours in a project. An incentive is something that motivates employee to accept overseas assignments. Incentives may include monetary payments or services such as housing, car, chauffeur, and other incentives. Assistance program means any housing program qualified by the corporation and administered or operated by the organization, and also a payment for expenses involved in moving a family abroad or in providing some services overseas. Here are some assistance programs commonly offered by multinational corporations, including household goods shipping storage, purchase major appliances, legal clearance for pets and their shipment travel, and educational allowance for children. Clearly, the design of compensation system for employees serving overseas is complex and requires enormous administrative expertise, particularly when an organization has expatriates posted in many different countries.